Namaste and welcome to our full moon and eclipse yoga practice, flow and restore yoga with a guided 10 minutes of mindfulness meditation practice at the end. For this practice, you'll want to have 2 yoga blocks. You can see them behind me, a strap, a bolster or pillow, and a blanket or beach towel. I invite you to start in hero's pose, as this whole week and especially today on the full moon, we'll be focusing on the heart energy center and the sacral energy center, which physically will look like shoulder opening, back bends, and opening up the hip flexors quite a bit. And we also had a request for helping to release tension along the neck. So let's start with the knees in front. You could sit directly on your calves or on a block or pillow right between your ankles. And allow a moment to settle into your practice. Take a look around your space, visually orient yourself. Bring your awareness to your body, maybe placing a hand on your chest and a hand on your belly, and maybe closing the eyes, allowing a few deep, grounding breaths. Sensing in your different layers of being what's present for you right now, and simply holding space for that physically, how you're feeling, energetically, and mentally and emotionally. So we have been going through the Yoga Sutras from the very start and the past 2 yoga classes this week with the modern translation that is very heart-centered by Michelle Chua. And I'd like to highlight a few more of those Yoga Sutras, as well as talk about the full moon energy of today's full moon in Scorpio. So let's start with the Yoga Sutras. Sutra number 6, you'll remember from last class. Well, first of all, to catch you up if you haven't been here, Michelle Chua talks about yoga being the uniting of consciousness at the heart. And when we steady our consciousness at the heart, then we abide by our true nature, which is joy. And when we're not steadying consciousness in the heart, these rays of consciousness sort of drift off into different areas, which can create the feelings of like or dislike, pleasant or unpleasant, which are very polarizing within ourselves. So I want to go into those 5 rays of consciousness, and they can manifest, Sutra number 6, as knowledge, misunderstanding, imagination, deep sleep, and memory. Sutra 7 says, knowledge embraces personal experience, inference, and insights from the wise. Sutra 8, misunderstanding comes when perception is unclear or tinted. Sutra 9, imagination is kindled by hearing words, seeing images, or experiencing feelings. And Sutra 10 says that deep sleep allows us to withdraw from conscious awareness. And Sutra 11, memory is when a previous experience returns to conscious awareness. I'm going to tie this in with a full moon in just a moment. And I just want to throw these seeds of what are those 5 rays of consciousness, because we're going to be looking out for them when we are practicing our meditation at the very end. Mystic Mama, I often read her astrological interpretations of the full moon, and she talks about the full moon in Scorpio. The scorpion symbolizes the unconscious residue, she carries from former lifetimes, the shadows that long to be embraced. Much of the time, when we have these full moon rituals, we talk about how when the full moon is illuminated, the parts that are shadow or unseen because they are in the shadows become now seen. And that is also parallel to us, right? You might find that during the full moons, our darker emotions, or the emotions that we may keep under the rug and not attend to as much, become more obvious and harder to keep under the rug. And so she says, once she recognizes her shadows and names them, She metaphorically transmutes her poison into medicine and shapeshifts into a snake, symbolizing her innate wisdom and feminine power, which is within all of us. We all have the masculine and the feminine power, also called the lunar, which is that feminine aspect, and solar. Just like the lotus that rises from the mud, all of this churning, this emotional turbulence, as it may seem, this heightened emotional awareness of the things that might be difficult to face, such as jealousy, anger, resentment, fear, hurts, suffering, things that might arise that make us feel pleasant or unpleasant, bringing back those rays of consciousness I mentioned earlier. When through all of this churning is the potential for greater clarity around what needs to be released and cleared to allow our beauty within to blossom and rise. So that is often the work that we can attend to during the full moon, in which, as you know, much of our bodies, human bodies, are made of water. And if the moon has such a gravitational force to affect the tides of the oceans on this planet, why not the own tides of emotions within our mostly water composed human beings? So with that, how can we bring our awareness to whatever is coming up for us, especially those of us who are more energetically sensitive or empaths, or, how can we bring it up with a caring curiosity, as we do with all of our yoga poses and meditations and breath work, bringing that same yogic quality to it and bringing it kind attention and nurturing? That's going to be a focus in our meditation. And for now, notice what comes up for you in the physical postures as we're moving, as we might be releasing and letting energy move through anything that's been stagnant, letting it go. And then as we sit in more still yin restorative postures as well, where does the mind go? Where do those rays of consciousness go? And then we'll sit in meditation to seal it. So let's begin. You might join your hands together at your heart. Again, back to the breath, inhaling, maybe exhaling through the mouth. Begin to clarify something you would like to invite into your practice today or into your experience, setting the tone as you set your intention for today's practice. And remembering to being kind to yourself as you are practicing. And then, is there somebody that you would like to dedicate today's practice to? Is remember that our inner work is not only for our own benefit, it's for the benefit of the collective, because we are inherently rippling our energy onto each other's and affecting each other as well. So taking a moment to maybe dedicate your practice to someone or something beyond our individual selves. And as we share a practice together, let's join our voices chanting Om to create resonance 3 times. Inhale. Bowing in. Remember to honor your pace, your practice, your body. Take the variations of postures and movements that are most appropriate for you, and rest if and when you need to. And with that, I invite you to a practice that will help us to promote a sense of digesting not only the food that's moving through our bodies, but digestion in general, stoking Agni, your digestive fire, and it's called breath of fire. If you are pregnant, I don't recommend you practice this. Instead, you can focus on deep, slow belly breaths. So expanding and softening the belly. Otherwise, breath of fire is practice with the lips closed, and it's brisk breath that's heating and energizing, in which you accentuate the exhalations by pulsing the belly in towards the spine. It sort of looks like this. So making sure the lips are closed the whole time, you're only breathing through the nose. It's a passive inhale and a quick bouncing in of the belly as you exhale, active exhales. So I'm gonna look at my watch for a 1-minute practice. Do what you can. If you need to start and stop, of course, feel free, but try to create some kind of sustained brisk pace. And then at the end of the minute, I will invite you to take a deep breath in, hold the breath in as you think of lifting your pelvic floor, drawing the navel in towards the spine, and even dropping the chin to the chest, closing the back of the throat. So those are 3 bandhas, or energy locks, that in which you're directing energy to move up your main energy channel up to the crown. And then when you can't hold the breath in anymore, we'll exhale and relax, and then notice how you feel after. All right, so breath of fire, those of you that are practicing, it may help to bring your hands to your stomach, sit tall and relax, maybe close the eyes, and focus on bouncing the belly in towards the spine with short, quick exhalations. So get ready and go for 1 minute. We're halfway there. Take a deep breath in. As you hold the breath in, lift your pelvic floor, draw the navel in and up towards the heart, close chin to chest. When you can't hold the breath in comfortably anymore, exhale and relax the body. And just sense anything you're feeling right now. And then invite you into Ujjayi Pranayama, which will bring us into our Vinyasa flow practice. So closing the lips still, now slowly breathe in and out through the nose evenly, while gently narrowing the back of your throat so that you're creating a very soft, smooth, whispering sound. This sound serves as a bridge for your mind and body in the present. And by regulating the breath this way, you're encouraging a balance of steadiness, effort, and easefulness in the body. So see if you can keep that sound rhythm going through pretty much all of our vinyasa flow part of this practice. And let's make our way into downward facing dog, lifting the hips up and back, and allowing a few breaths to pedal out your feet, shake out your head, any way that your body needs and wants to move for a few deep breaths. Rolling your triceps towards the ground, press down and forward through the hands, and lift the hips high and back. So as you step the feet hips width apart and parallel to each other, feel that your 2 hips are pretty much balanced in height, left and right sides. Try to keep them both balanced as you inhale to raise your right leg behind you, flexing the foot. Now keep turning the right hip to face the ground, and exhale, bend the right knee. And inhale, lift the right knee towards the back wall and ceiling, creating sort of a scorpion tail, going with our full moon in Scorpio. Now as you exhale, slowly contract your lower belly. And rounding forward, bring the knee towards your nose in plank pose. And gently as you can, step the foot beside your right thumb. Lower your back knee into a kneeling lunge. And press your hands onto the very top of your right thigh as you root down to the right foot. Energetically, but not visibly, drag it back. So this right hip draws back, left hip forward, and then lift your frontal hip bones as you're rooting down through that front leg. Lift the back ribs, let the tailbone lengthen down, and then right underneath your shoulder blades, begin to create a gentle back bend. Roll the shoulder heads back, lengthen through the back of the neck, and lift your sternum towards the full moon. Tune into about 3 more full breaths here. So since we're really at the beginning of our practice, be gentle. We're not trying to get into the deepest back bend or the deepest hip flex or stretch on this left hip. Just touching upon it. 1 more deep breath. And then exhale, come back to downward facing dog. Downward facing dog. Inhale, glide forward into plank pose. Let's pause for 3 breaths, stacking your shoulders over your wrists. You could opt to lower your knees or keep the legs actively straight, pressing the inner heels back. Imagine the center line of your body is one straight line, like a plank of wood. Keep that straight line as you exhale, glide forward on your tiptoes, then graze your elbows by your side ribs, pause halfway, Chaturanga Dandasana, and then slowly lower all the way. Press down to the tops of your feet. Inhale gently into Cobra pose. Roll the shoulders back. Exhale, press up to plank. Downward facing dog. Full cycle of breath here, in and out through the nose. And once again, keep your hips squared or leveled in height. As you inhale to raise the left leg back, flexing the foot. Still keep them squared. Exhale, bend the left knee behind you. And inhale, lift the left knee towards the back wall and ceiling while turning the left hip to face down. Scorpion tail. Exhale, start to round slowly. Contract lower belly, mid belly, upper belly, knee to nose. Softly land the foot beside left thumb and lower your right knee. Press your hands onto the top of your left thigh and energetically drag your legs towards each other as you lift your frontal hip bones. Direct the tailbone down. As you lift the back ribs, find the area right under your scapula or shoulder blades to create a back bend, just a gentle one. Drop the shoulders back, lift your sternum, lengthen the back of your neck, and relax the eyes. 3 more full breaths. Listen in. On an exhale, please step right into plank pose, your version of it. Inhale, in plank, lift the sides of the belly, look forward. Exhale, glide forward, lower to Chaturanga Dandasana. This time, lower all the way for Cobra or flip the toes here, inhaling to upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. 3 slow and steady breaths. Land your gaze on one focal point to cultivate steadiness of mind. When you finish a third exhalation, walk or lightly jump to the front of your mat in a forward fold. Press down with your fingertips. Inhale, half forward fold, lengthen forward. Exhale, fold. Press down with your feet. Slowly inhale, rise, raising the arms up towards the full moon. Roll your shoulders back and down. And as though blessing yourself, bring your hands in prayer from your crown to your heart center. Let's flow through a variation of Sun Salutation A, adding some warrior poses to open the hips. Inhale, sweep the arms overhead and drop the shoulders back, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, bow over your legs, Uttanasana. Press your fingertips on blocks of the floor. Inhale, lengthen forward, Ardha Uttanasana. Choose to step into plank and slowly lower or float lightly into Chaturanga, taking your version of your vinyasa. Maybe cat-cow if you prefer that. This time when you arrive in downward facing dog, again, keep your hips leveled. Inhale, raise the right leg back. Exhale, bend the knee towards your nose this time. Step the foot beside right thumb into a high lunge. With one inhale, rise all the way up to standing crescent pose. Then turning to your left, align heel to arch. Exhale, open the arms in warrior two. Inhale, side bend towards your rear wall in peaceful warrior, keeping the right knee bent. Exhale, half moon pose. We're gonna be there for a few breaths. So plant the right hand, upper right corner from your right pinky toe, drag the left foot forward and flex it off the ground. Let's stay for 5 breaths. And take your variation. You could raise the left arm up or come into another heart and hip opening posture, standing sideways bow, in which you bend the left knee towards your belly, catch the top of the left foot, kick the foot away as you pull it towards you, and roll your left shoulder back while drawing the navel in towards your spine. Last few breaths, Ardha Chandra Chapasana or Ardha Chandrasana. Our tribute to the moon. Now take your time. We're going back to peaceful warrior. So softly step left foot to the rear of your mat. Keep your right knee bent. And with one inhale, sweep the right arm overhead as you side bend towards your rear wall. Exhale your hands all the way down to the ground. Lower through your vinyasa, cat-cow, or step right into downward facing dog. From downward facing dog, keep the hips leveled and inhale, raise your left leg back. Exhale, rounding forward, bend the knee towards your nose. Softly step the foot beside left thumb into a high lunge. Inhale, slowly rise up to crescent pose. Then turn to your right, dropping right heel line, heel to arch. Exhale, the arms open, warrior two. Keep your left knee bent. Inhale, side bend towards your rear wall, peaceful warrior. Exhale, half moon pose. Lift the spine and plant your left fingertips upper left corner from your left pinky toe, dragging the right foot in as you flex it off the floor. Now let's stay here for 5 breaths. Choose your variation. Half moon pose, Ardha Chandrasana, or standing sideways bow, Ardha Chandra Chapasana, where you bend right knee towards the belly. Catch the top of the foot with the right hand. Kick the foot away as you pull it towards you while rolling your right shoulder open. So the latter variation brings the heart and hip opening aspect. A few more deep breaths. Take your time stepping slowly into peaceful warrior, where you land right foot towards the rear of your mat. Keep your left knee bent, and with one inhale, side bend towards your rear wall, raising left arm overhead. Exhale, windmill your hands to the ground, optional vinyasa or your own flow, back to downward facing dog. Walking your feet forward towards your hands. Bring your hands to your hips. Point the elbows towards the sky. Inhale, lead with your chest and slowly rise. So, we've been working on Natarajasana dancer pose today. Let's bring that in. Bit of standing balancing, bring the feet together to touch. Steady your gaze on one focal point and cultivate the feeling of balance again in your Ujjayi breath. Draw your navel in and up towards the heart, and remember to keep your 2 frontal hip bones squared or evenly facing forward in this pose. Shift your weight onto your left foot, bend your right knee to hug the left knee, and direct your tailbone actively towards your inner left knee. Backstroke your right arm and reach hold of the inside of your right ankle or foot. As you kick the foot away, pull it towards you, using the counter forces to direct energy up the spine towards the heart center. Raise your left arm. Now, if the foot is hard to reach, that's where you can use a strap as an extension of your arm and step the top of the right foot into the strap like this. Choose the version that works for you. Remember turning right hip forward, keep your hips leveled. The more you kick the foot away, the more you can even it out with that lift of your heart center. This is both right hip and extension or hip opening and back bending or heart opening. Last couple of breaths. Standing splits. Without slingshotting your right leg, slowly straighten it behind you and lower your fingertips to blocks or the floor as you bow in towards your left shin. Now, it doesn't matter how high you're lifting your right leg, more important that you're squaring your hips evenly, stabilizing your center and lower back. Soften the back of your neck. Let this be a neck releasing posture too. You might even shake out the head. Or if you're feeling very fiery, you might play with kicking up towards handstand if you practice that. Tapping your right leg with a left foot. Or not. And then eventually bending your knees, feet on the floor. Inhale to roll your spine slowly upright. Allow a full cycle of breath just to notice what's here. What's arising for you in your practice right now. Bringing kind, non-judgmental attention to that. All right, second side, bring your feet together to touch. Start with a steady gaze, steady breath. Take your time. Right hand to right hip, draw navel in and up. Shift your weight onto your right foot and bend left knee to hug the right. Anchor your tailbone downward and backstroke your left arm. Reach for the big toe side of your left ankle or foot. Now, if it's hard to reach, grab a strap. As you kick the foot away, pull it towards you and draw those counter forces to lift the heart space up, raising the right arm. Turn the left hip to face forward. The more you kick, the more you lift through the heart. Dancer pose or Natarajasana. And this pose is also called standing bow. Tune into the breath. Without slingshotting the leg, moving slowly, draw the navel in, straighten the left leg behind you, lower your hands, standing splits. Turn your left hip to face the ground, tack your right hip back. Relax your jaw, relax your neck, maybe even flutter the lips here. Or, if you're feeling it, kick up towards handstand. And then standing forward fold. Inhale, lengthen your spine forward. Please step back to plank pose. We have one more active back bend with hips and flexion or extension. From plank, few deep breaths, lift the sides of the belly, lengthen the neck. Very slowly, you might even pause in Chaturanga Dandasana. Lower all the way down to your belly. Forehead to the earth, slide your knees close together to prepare for our last active back bend, bow pose, Dhanurasana, for 5 to 10 breaths. So as you slide the knees close together, bend them and reach back with both hands catching your inner or outer feet. Press your pubic bone into the ground. Kick your feet evenly into each hand as you pull your feet towards you. Lifting your knees no wider apart than hips distance. Draw your shoulder heads back and lift from right under the shoulder blades, your heart space. Lengthen the back of your neck and then count how many breaths you'll be here for, focusing on expansive breaths through the heart space. When you've let it go, you might make a pillow out of your forearms for your forehead, and maybe windshield wiper your shins side to side, just to bring ease into your lower body, lower back. Inhale into your belly. Long sigh through your mouth. Couple more breaths like that. Sliding your hands alongside your floating ribs. Please press up to sit. Bring your legs out in front of you as we transition into our yin part of our practice, beginning with a seated spinal twist. Straighten your left leg in front of you and step your right foot on the ground, either in front of your right hip or crossed outside of your left knee, in which you might also bend your left knee. Choose the variation that allows you to evenly ground your two sitting bones and sit up tall and relaxed. Place your right hand behind your pelvis, raise your left arm. As you press into the ground with your right foot and hips, breathe in and lengthen through the center of your spine. Keep the shoulders relaxed, and exhale, rotate your chest to the right, lower your left arm to hold your right leg, or hook your left elbow outside of your right thigh. Each inhale, root into the ground, lengthen up through the back of your skull. Your chest wide open. Exhale as you allow the twist to deepen. About 7 more breaths here. Emptying this breath, unwind your spine. And let's actually cross the right calf in front or on top of the left calf so that you're either sitting cross-legged, you could sit up on a pillow or block if you like, or you're sitting in double pigeon pose if your ankles and knees will stack comfortably, making sure you're flexing your feet in double pigeon. Then again, root down through your sitting bones, lengthen front and back of your spine as you breathe in. Keep the shoulders relaxed, throat open, and little by little hinge forward from your hips as you breathe out. A total of about 10 deep breaths. You might even use a block or a stack of blocks to catch your forehead. Notice the quality of your breathing here. Let's continue with Ujjayi Pranayama, long, even whispering breaths through the nose. As this technique also helps to regulate the nervous system to a calm, grounded feeling state. Begin to plant your fingertips on the ground and walk them towards you as you inhale. Slowly lift your torso upright. Stretch the legs both in front of you. Maybe shake out your legs or rotate your feet at your ankles. Few deep breaths. Let's set up, if you can, in the same way as your twist on the first side. Step your left foot on the ground in front of the left hip or crossed outside of the right knee. Maybe also bend the right knee. Place your left hand behind your pelvis. Raise your right arm. And as you press into the ground, sit a little taller as you breathe in. Exhale across your waistline, twist to your left, holding your left leg with your right hand or hooking the elbow outside of that thigh. Breathing in, root down to rise up. Breathing out, allow the twist to deepen. About 7 more breaths. On your next exhalation, unwind your spine, and now let's cross the left calf in front or on top of the right calf, either sitting cross-legged or stacking your ankles and knees in double pigeon while flexing your feet. Root your sitting bones. Inhale as you lengthen your spine, draw the shoulders down, and exhale as you begin to fold slowly from the hips for about 10 breaths. Again, maybe using any of your props to rest your forehead on. Pressing down to your pelvis, rooting down to your fingertips. Inhale to slowly rise up. Stretch your legs in front of you. And once again, shake out your legs, roll out your feet. Allow a few deep breaths. Notice what you're feeling here in your body right now. As you straighten both legs in front, separate your feet hips distance apart, and let's prepare for 10 breaths in seated forward fold, Paschimottanasana. So we've already started with quite a few of hips in extension, like our bow pose variations. So now we're bringing the hips in flexion, balancing it out. So flex your feet, press your big toe mounds forward. Root your sitting bones down and hug your outer hips towards your midline. Lengthen the spine. You could use a strap around the balls of your feet as an extension of your arms, resting the shoulders down. Or you could raise the arms overhead, still resting the shoulders down. Breathe in. Little by little, exhale as you fold from your hips. Keep a slight lift in your chest. Keep your throat open. If you're not using a strap and you can reach comfortably, you might clasp your big toes with your peace fingers. Sense any physical sensations around the fronts of your hips now, as we started with quite a few hips in extension, and this is the opposite, hips in flexion. Oftentimes, hip-centered postures, which is directed around your sacral energy center or Svadhisthana chakra, an area much about how we handle our emotions. Notice if there's any emotion to be aware of coming up for you or shifting. Begin to lift from your chest, inhaling, slowly rise. So we're kind of going back and forth, just getting some lubrication, especially in the hip flexor region. We're going to go into hips in extension again with adding more of a back bend in Supta Virasana with supported fish pose. So I invite you to choose any of these options to support fish pose behind you, which is, I'll start with the most supportive option, which is the most use of props. And that's creating an incline out of your bolster, your pillow, using your blocks. 2 blocks, lowest height stacked wide across the rearmost edge of your mat, and then placing your bolster like this. So the lowest part of the bolster is right where your pelvis is. Now, when you lean back, if you find that's too high, you want to go even further back, then you can instead use less props and try 1 block at the tallest height at the rear edge of your mat for your skull, and the second block at the medium height going across the mat, spacing the blocks about 5 to 6 inches apart. So now let's set up the legs in hero's pose like we started in. Either sitting on a blanket if your blocks are occupied right now, or some kind of prop between your ankles like this, right? That puts less bend in the knees if you're needing that support. Make sure your feet are not turned out or turned in, but your toes are directed straight behind you. Or if you can sit directly on your calves, you can do that. Or if it's comfortable to sit on the ground right in between your ankles, make sure again your pinky toenails are pressing into the earth. That helps to safely align your knees, and that your knees are not wider than hips distance apart. Keep them on the ground. Seal in your bottom front ribs, lengthen the spine, and notice the sensations as you're starting to lean back. You may be more upright. Maybe that's enough for you to not even lean back. So listen to your body. Or you might start to lean into a pillow or a stack of pillows even higher, or onto the blocks. If you're leaning on the blocks, find the area right under your shoulder blades where we create all those back bends from earlier to land on the medium height block across the mat. The back of your skull lands on the tallest block, or also a medium height block. Up to you. You can shift it around and see what's most supportive for your back bend. And then if your hands are free, you're not using them to hold yourself up, you might raise your arms overhead and possibly hold opposite elbows bent, dropping the shoulders down the back. And we're going to be here for another 3 to 4 minutes. So make sure that you feel comfortable enough to be still here, using any additional props you may need, any slight adjustment you may need. And then when you're ready, commit to stillness. Feel the breath expanding throughout your torso, taking its time to empty from your body. And as your body holds still for longer duration, notice your rays of consciousness. Where does your attention go? Does it drift off into memory? Remembering the past? Does it drift off into imagination? Creating or planning things? Does it go into deep sleep, leaving conscious awareness? Does it dive into misunderstanding, replaying situations and the narratives that you're seeing them from that might be perpetuating limiting beliefs? Real, but maybe not true. Are the rays of consciousness going towards knowledge? Such as feeling the experience in your body, the sensations, or how energy is moving, shifting. Again, just observing without judging so that you can know better your own mental habits. If you're holding opposite elbows overhead, you might switch hold of the elbow that's on top. See if that might feel slightly different in your shoulders or neck. Notice how the support of the block or pillow under your torso affects your quality of breath, specifically the expansiveness of your in-breath. Sensing a couple last deep exhalations in this posture before you even think about beginning to move out. When you start to, take your time, bringing the hands to the ground beside you, very slowly lifting your skull, your shoulders, your mid-back, all of your torso. And then stretching the legs out once again. We're gonna come into some neck rolls. So as your legs are stretched out in front of you, if it's more comfortable to sit tall with, you can sit on any of your props, such as two low blocks side by side. And then let's start to circle the head gently and slowly in one direction a couple of times, staying aware of the breath. Being curious as to how sensations shift throughout this range of motion. And then a couple of circles in the opposite direction. All right. Come on down to your knees and let's come into child's pose with an option to move into another neck stretching posture, which is slightly active. It's rabbit pose. So let's start in child's pose, balasana. Bring the inner edges of your feet to touch. And in this version, if it feels okay in your body, I invite you to bring the knees together to touch too, which will help prepare for rabbit pose if you're going there. Set your forehead down. If it doesn't comfortably meet the ground, place any of your props underneath your head. Bring the arms back by your sides and just let the shoulders round here. We've already been doing a lot of the opposite, so just a little counterbalancing as well as bringing the hips into flexion again. Sense the breath. Now you could opt to stay in child's pose, or if you're moving towards rabbit, bring the 4 fingers, which is all except the thumb, to the inner sides of your heels, like you're holding baseballs with your hands, holding your heels. The thumbs are on your outer heels. Really hold the heels firmly as though you're pulling them towards you while you begin to contract the belly and roll up to the very crown of the head as much as you can. Use the counter forces of pulling your heels towards you and contracting the belly, lifting the hips as much as you can to stack the hips above the knees, to put as little weight on the head as possible as you roll to the top of your head. Stay for about 5 slow breaths, rabbit pose. And then when you're done, release the arms forward, splay the knees apart in child's pose for another 4 or 5 breaths. Allow a few clearing exhalations through the mouth, something that feels releasing for you, whether you flutter the lips, stick out the tongue, roar it out, sigh it out, lion's breath. And then gently begin to roll your spine upright so you can lift up to sit, preparing for pranayama practice of alternate nostril breathing, which draws in that lunar energy of introspection, inward attention, but also helps to balance our energy overall, both the yin and the yang. So find a way to sit in which you can evenly ground throughout your pelvic floor and lift tall through the spine while feeling relaxed, open in the heart space. Rest your left hand on your lap and place it possibly in a mudra that brings out the tone or feeling you're reaching for. Gyan mudra, thumb and index finger touching, palm face up, brings more attention inward, inviting deeper states of meditation. Grounding mudra is the same shape in your hands with a palm face down. And then with your right hand, stick out your thumb, pinky, and ring fingers. With your lips closed, breathe slowly and softly through the nose, in and out. We'll use the right thumb to close the right nostril like this, and the right ring and pinky to close left nostril like this. Alternate nostril breathing, or in Sanskrit, it's called Nodi Shodhana Pranayama. Let's practice 3 cycles together and then 2 cycles on your own, and then we'll prepare for Shavasana into our meditation. As we're practicing, you might close your eyes and place your inward gaze on one focal point in your body, such as a chakra that you want to highlight the energy of, such as heart chakra or intuitive center or crown center, sacral center. So let's prepare to begin. Deep breath in, exhale it out through the nose. Close right nostril with right thumb. Inhale to your left. Hold the breath. Close left nostril. Exhale to right. Hold the breath. Inhale to right. Hold. Close right. Exhale through left. Hold. Cycle 2. Inhale left. Hold. Close left. Exhale right. Hold. Inhale right. Hold. Close right. Exhale left. Hold. Cycle 3. Inhale left. Hold. Close left. Exhale right. Hold. Inhale right. Hold. Close right. Exhale left. Hold. Continue for 2 more cycles on your own. Take your time finishing at your pace. When you are finished, breathing naturally, observe how you're feeling now. And like I mentioned, rather than polarizing and labeling what you feel as good or bad, be in the sensations, the aliveness of the feeling just as it is. As you continue to breathe naturally and have your eyes closed to tune inward, please begin to lower your body to the ground, placing it in a comfortable lying down position to rest in stillness in for about 5 minutes of Shavasana, corpse pose, before our guided meditation. As you arrive, make any last little adjustment. Close the eyes, relax the breathing, and allow your awareness to soften deeper and deeper inward. As you rest here a little longer with your eyes closed, scan your awareness throughout your physical body, being with any sensations, any felt sense you observe. Little by little, begin to slowly move your body, gently wake it up. So with the eyes closed, stretch your arms overhead and gradually turn over onto your right side, resting your head. As you pause there, now observe the breath just as it is, feeling your energetic state of being. Noticing if anything has shifted there throughout your practice. As you're ready, press your hands into the ground and slowly lift your body upright, finding a comfortable way to sit again for our 10 minutes of guided meditation. You might choose to place your hands in a mudra, such as earlier Gyan Mudra, grounding, heart, lotus mudra. And maybe close the eyes, otherwise steady a soft gaze at eye level on one spot. As your body finds a still, comfortable position, sense the breath again without regulating it. Let each natural exhalation invite your body to feel more safe and easeful. Relaxing into present moment, natural awareness. In the next 2 minutes, I invite you to a mindfulness meditation of mental noting, which means observing the kinds of thoughts that arise and simply and succinctly labeling what kinds of thoughts, such as remembering or planning or fantasizing or whatever it might be. Bringing a neutral witness to those thoughts, and by labeling them, not fully identifying with them, just seeing them as they are, as they come and go. 2 minutes. And now, as I mentioned at the start of our practice, we can direct the supporting energy of the full moon to help us acknowledge the thoughts, tendencies, beliefs, emotions that are usually in the shadows that we don't often give our attention to. Sometimes because they're difficult emotions or not as comforting. So I invite you into a self-compassionate mindfulness practice called RAIN. Choosing any particular emotion that may be arising from whatever thought patterns you noticed. Generally, RAIN is helpful for dealing with things that are uncomfortable. So find something that you would like to practice on. If something didn't come up in the last 2 minutes, maybe there's something you know that you're currently sort of dealing with. Choose something that is not too intense. Something moderately intense you can practice RAIN with. And let's start with the first stage of RAIN, which is R for recognize. Recognizing what that emotion or emotions is or are. Naming them. Maybe visualizing the situation in which they came up for you. If you can pinpoint one, it's helpful to just start with one emotion. And having identified that emotion, anger, fear, jealousy, resentment, frustration, impatience. Remember, being kind to yourself as you're observing this. No need to judge that you're feeling this way. The second stage in RAIN is A for allow. So allow a few moments to experience the emotion as it is in its full intensity. Feel it in your physical body, in your breathing. You might even make the facial expression that expresses it. Sometimes these difficult emotions, all they need or to start is to be acknowledged. So giving them that room to breathe, to be as they are, to communicate. Which brings us to our third stage in RAIN, I for investigate. Asking this particular uncomfortable emotion, what does it need from you? What is it asking for? What does this vulnerable part of you need? As you feel how that emotion shows up in your body, maybe a tightened jaw, clenched fist, heat or pressure somewhere, or maybe changing the breath. You might also ask yourself, what am I believing? What is this part of me believing? That this emotion is expressing. Is this belief true. Sometimes it can be real for you and not true, not necessarily true. And then coming into our last stage of rain, which is N for nurture, having acknowledged what that emotion or vulnerable part of you is needing, how might you offer yourselves compassion? Gesturing in a physical way, maybe rest a hand at the heart center. Maybe offering yourself some acknowledgement or mental words of kindness, such as, I'm sorry and I love you, or I forgive you, or you're going to be okay. So that in some way you find your way back to your natural presence, that state of well-being that can hold space for this. You recognize that you are the ocean, and all these different waves of different kinds of emotions can be held in the vastness of you. That you can feel the emotions without being consumed by them. You might rest your hands at the heart, the lower belly, thanking yourself for your practice. And maybe even offering gratitude to the full moon, as nature is, in her many ways, continuously guiding and supporting us through our human evolution, our awakening, our healing, our collective well-being. Remembering your intention and remembering to whom you dedicated today's practice. Sending yourself and them and each other the nurturing energy of the full moon as we chant to close with 3 ohms. Inhale. Bowing in to the guidance within. The light in me honors the light in you. Namaste.